day in the pub, Seb and Verity were socialising with hilarity.
They knew there and then that their options were vast. They bought some equipment and made a podcast.
What do you think you are doing, you twits? It's cliched and obvious, you know.
If this doesn't work well, then we'll call it quits. But right now, just listen to our show.
It's called Three in a Bar.
We'll talk to musicians about their lives so far.
Three in a bar. We hope that you like it, okay? Hooray!
Hi,
Hi!
my name's Seb Philpott.
And I am Verity Simmons, and this is Three in a Bar.
Yes, it is. It's the podcast where we chat to a different musical guest each week. And we have got a very exciting special guest this week. Verity, please tell us who it is.
Well, we really have. We have got, I don't think it's too much to say, a national treasure with us this week. It is comedian, actor, singer, Rob Brydon.
Yeah, it's Rob Brydon.
Wow.
That's right. Now, Rob Brydon, I'm sure you'll know who he is, but just in case you don't, he was born in 1965 in Swansea. He's had an incredible career in TV, in films, on stage. Some highlights include Human Remains, Marion and Jeff.
Uncle Bryn, my favourite in Gavin and Stacey.
Oh, yeah. And of course, he played a version of himself in The Trip alongside Steve Coogan and many, many other things, which we haven't got time to go into now. But Rob is just great, isn't he?
Yeah, and such a lovely, lovely person and so generous with his time. I can't believe he let us come to his gorgeous garden and basically talk at him.
I know, it was so kind of him. Basically, how it all came to happen was he's always sung in various things he's done over the years, either on TV and in his live shows. But this year he embarked on a national tour doing some jokes and singing some songs with a live band. And I was fortunately asked to be in the band. So that was what I was doing just before. Thank you very much. That was what I was doing just before COVID struck. And we all had to stop. It was such a good tour. It was really fun.
Yeah.
So that's how I met Rob. And we had a little recording thing recently. And I seized the opportunity to ask him if he would come on Three in a Bar. And he very kindly said, yes, I will.
Yes. So, hooray.
Yes, he did. So as we said, we went to his garden just to sort of make it as sort of COVID safe as possible.
It was.
We kept our distances, and
but he was also very, very, very hospitable. We had some lovely biscuits, some lovely coffee. Had a look at his amazing jukebox.
Oh, he's got a brilliant jukebox. Great. Yeah. I turned up with a plastic cup of tea, and he seemed a bit disappointed. He was like, "Oh, I wanted to make you a cup of coffee." So, okay, I'll have a cup of coffee then. As you can probably guess, in the garden, you get all sorts of noises going on, and it was a really lovely sunny day, a little bit windy, but there were people over the fence just soaring through patios and just like forging metal. I think there was a blacksmith living.
There must have been either that or like a masonry party or something was going on. It was extraordinary, wasn't it?
It really was. But I've tried to do my best with the audio, but that, just to let you know, that's what's going on. But hey, that's life, isn't it? Sometimes there's some unwanted noise, and I think it adds to the experience.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's go there now to Rob Brydon's garden. Rob, thank you so much for chatting to us today. And,
my pleasure.
I chose a moment just as you put a biscuit in your mouth. Now, we met this year probably, but of course, we do have a number one single together.
No, isn't that the strangest thing? I've only released one single and it went to number one. I say it was we. I must never say I. It was we. It was Ruth Jones and myself.
Yeah.
And, how appropriate. Tom Jones. Just by he's always with us. And we did this Islands in the Stream from Gavin and Stacey. And we did a record of it, and Hugh Padgham produced it, who did a million things. But for someone of my age, In the Air Tonight and Every Breath You Take are the two that jump out. And then when I met you casually let slip one day that you played the trumpet on the single.
Yeah, that's right. It was me and my brother Barney. He played the trombone, and someone recommended us to go and do a thing with Hugh Padgham, and that was so cool. And
did you get taken to Vegas? Sorry, for the video.
No, I didn't actually.
No? Oh, that's a shame.
That was so funny because we went over to shoot the video in Las Vegas. So Ruth and myself flew over there to Las Vegas, and we had very little time there. And when you make those long flights, the jet lag and you can't sleep and all this stuff. So I think let's say we arrived in the morning, perhaps after an overnight flight. And we went to see Tom's show that night at the MGM Grand.
Oh, brilliant. And
we were thinking, we'd written a few things like he gets in and out of a car, he does this, he does that. And when we were thinking, and this is 2008, this is, good Lord, 12 years ago, 11 years ago now?
2009, I think.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that's 11 years ago. Good Lord. And we were thinking, well, we've written these things for him to do. Now, I hope he, because he's not young, this is 11 years ago and he's still going strong. Yeah. And we went to see the show and we were laughing because he was so energetic in the show. He was skipping around the stage. Literally was at one point skipping. And so we were laughing to ourselves. And then afterwards, we went back to see him. You don't mind about the police, do you? I think I'm lying low. I don't think they know I'm here.
That's okay.
No, it feels like home for me.
Okay.
That's fine.
We went backstage and there was, champagne and it was all very lovely. And he said, well, we're going out for dinner now. Do you want to come for dinner? And we thought, wow. But we had to be up very early the next day filming. And I stupidly said, oh, no, because I really need my sleep. I said, oh, no. So we didn't. But of course, you can't sleep because your body clock's all messed up anyway. So I can vividly remember being in my room in this hotel. It was a very fancy hotel, but it wasn't very nice. And it was a bit garish. And I remember being stood way up, floors and floors up, looking out of the window, thinking somewhere out there in that glistening city, Tom Jones is having a meal now. And we could have been there. And we'd said no, and I don't think either of us slept.
Oh, no. So were you, because you're quite good friends with Tom these days, aren't you?
Well, I mean, I know him.
You know him.
I'm sure it's more of a big deal to me than it is to him,
I don't know.
No, but you know what I mean, though? It's always funny, that sort of strange imbalance. If you do get to know somebody who you've known, as it were, all your life, I'm sure it's there is an imbalance there because it's a bigger thing to you than it is to them. But yes.
But I mean, the first time I heard when the song was released, I heard it sounded like Tom Jones. So I thought, oh, well, he's done an impression of Tom Jones. And then I didn't believe it until I saw the videos that it was actually Tom Jones.
Yeah.
I've actually sort of played with Tom Jones.
And Robin Gibb as well, is that right?
Robin Gibb, that was very exciting because I'm a huge fan of the Bee Gees, huge admirer of the Bee Gees, who are, I mean, it has to be said, they're sort of often maligned.
Yeah.
Which I think is ludicrous. And of course, I think people who know music know that it's ludicrous. But they often were. I'm a huge fan. You look at the stuff that they created, and not just for themselves, the songs they did for other people, whether it's Islands in the Stream or Heartbreaker or Chain Reaction or all sorts of songs. But yes, so Robin did the backing vocals, and I've got different mixes of the single. I've got just the backing track because sometimes Ruth and I have performed it at the end of one of my live shows to a backing track.
Fantastic.
And I've also got it with just Robin's vocal because he did backing on it. And I sent this to Jimmy Fallon because Jimmy Fallon is a huge fan of the Bee Gees. He used to do a thing on SNL with Justin Timberlake called the Barry Gibb Talk Show, where they did a version of Barry Gibb hosting a talk show. All very affectionately done because I think, Jimmy's a huge fan of them. And I did his show once, and it was a great experience. Maybe we talked about the Bee Gees or something. Anyway, but I sent him this version, this mix, which just has Robin on it, because he's doing the backing vocals. So, it goes, Islands in the Stream. It goes, and we rely on each other. And I've always thought of it as, But when Robin did the backing vocals for us, it was ar.
Oh.
He was going ar like a pirate.
Wow.
and it's the strangest thing. Maybe if you were to listen to the record, if you listen closely, you could hear that. But certainly on this version I've got, where it's just his backing vocals, he's going ar. So I sent that to Jimmy Fallon. I think he'd find it interesting. So Robin was on it, and we did it live. Well, what happened was we recorded it in the autumn of 2008. So Ruth and I went into the studio with Hugh, did that. I did Tom's bit doing an impression of him, what we wanted him to do, right? And then Robin put his backing vocals on it. Then they got Seb in to do the trumpet. Or no, maybe you'd already done that by the time we were doing it.
I think we were after you. I think, yeah, because he was saying how he just met you.
Oh, really?
You guys had come in. And,
funny.
Yeah.
And so we did all that, and then the track was done. So then Ruth and I went to Las Vegas and we did the video. And that was a strange thing, because I remember Tom there saying, he said, "Oh, they used you in the end." Then I said, "What do you mean?" And he. I can't to this day believe this is true, but he started to say that, "Well, yeah, I've heard the track and it's you." And I said, "No, it's not me, it's you." And I cannot believe, much as I'd like to, that he ever heard himself and wasn't sure. That's just not possible. So maybe he heard some earlier version. I don't know. But I said, "Well, no, it's you, it's you." So we did that. So that was in the autumn of 2008, and then it was released in 2009 for Comic Relief, and he flew over and did a few promo things with us. So we went on a show, that thing they do, Let's Dance for Comic Relief. Yeah. We sang it on that, and we did it on Top of the Pops. I think they brought Top of the Pops back. Or something. Oh, yeah. We were on the same week as Oasis. Take that. And Robin came, and Tom was there, and the Gavin and Stacey cast were there doing backing and what have you. And I remember the thing I remember from that was being quite nervous. I think Tom had flown in that day to do it, and Robin Gibb was there. We'd met Robin when we did the video. He came down to Barry Island. This is a BG alert. That's what that noise is. It's always fun, isn't it? Whenever you're filming anything anywhere, if you're on location, you become hyper aware of the noises that would pass you by. So often you're filming. I was just doing a thing in Bath, and we're filming out in front of the Royal Crescent. And you think, well, this is lovely and peaceful. But then when you stop and listen, knowing that there's... What the hell? Or this... things you'd never notice.
Yeah, or just a really loud bird. Like, birds are noisy.
Yeah, just these sounds you'd never notice. But we, so we were going to do it, and I was quite nervous. And I said to Robin Gibb, which again is not something I ever thought I'd say. I said to Robin Gibb, "God, I'm quite nervous." And he said to me, a good bit of advice. He said, "Do you know what I do when I'm nervous?" I said, "No." He said, "I turn what if into so what."
Sage words.
Isn't that good?
Yeah, it's excellent. Yeah.
Isn't that good from a BG?
Oh.
Yeah.
Wow.
So were you listening to things like the Bee Gees and Tom Jones growing up in Wales? And were you in a very musical household?
Well, my mother, we had a piano my mother would play. And from my memory, it was only ever Claire de Lune. No, what's the one that goes...
Yeah.
Not Claire de Lune. I knew it was something to something. She would play that. And I had lessons as a kid, but just couldn't get my head around it. And I wish I could. We've got a piano here, you know, and I may start just trying to learn chords, you know, and just enough to do it. I would love to be able to play. I play the guitar a little bit. Yeah. But, I mean a little bit.
I've seen you play it.
Yeah, it's a little bit, Seb, isn't it? I mean, you know.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's enough, isn't it, for a lot of songs, isn't it?
Yeah, but what I found interesting when we were on tour together,
yeah,
there's a real difference between, if I sat in the house now with the guitar, I could probably whistle through a few songs.
Yeah.
But parts of your brain get occupied when you're on stage.
Yeah.
And you need to play at a certain level on stage. You need to be a couple of levels better
Absolutely.
To come down to that level. I found it really interesting because even sometimes for some of the dates on our tour, we did a few things, didn't we, where I'd have the guitar.
Yeah.
And I soon thought better of it. And it would be a simple, like even a simple blues thing, right? Really simple. But in the moment, you couldn't keep it all in your head, even the simplest of chord changes. And I'd be thinking, oh. So in the end, I'd end up just not actually strumming it, just missing the strings. So it was musical in that sense, and there was music in the house.
Yeah.
I'm always surprised when you hear people who grew up and there was no music in the house.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. What sort of things did your parents listen to?
Well, I can tell you what we had. We had the Carpenters.
Yes.
One of those albums. We had a Barry White album.
Right.
We had a Tijuana Brass, Herb Albert.
Oh, brilliant.
We had the soundtrack to Dr. Zhivago. We had the soundtrack to Chitty Chitty Bang Bang.
Yeah.
And I think, and then a little bit later in Elvis's 40 Golden Greats before he died. That would have come out when I was about 10, I think. So we had those, and I've never thought about it before, but maybe I do love melody, and maybe, melody over energy then. So that, which is why punk never really, I can like some of those songs, I suppose, but I certainly didn't hold them in particularly high esteem because I just loved melody all the time.
Yeah.
And all of those people, certainly the Carpenters, were hugely melodic. I think those would be the ones. And I then would buy the stuff that was out. So, I used to buy the Bay City Rollers,
Yeah.
It's really a girls' group, but I really liked them. And Donny Osmond, again, a girls' thing, but I really liked Donny Osmond.
Yeah.
Sparks, I bought one of the first cassettes, was the Propaganda album by Sparks.
Brilliant.
Which is quite different, to someone who's into Donny Osmond, the Bay City Rollers, chart things. But Sparks I liked very much. And then, you go through phases, don't you? And then as a teenager, that's when I got into Bruce Springsteen and Elvis. And I liked a lot of American stuff, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We were saying this the other day that it's a real difference now. When you're younger, I just remember we used to listen to something in the car all the time. We were talking about how you get to know albums so well, don't you? And the repetition. And these days things are quite different with how you listen. And
it's true, although I hope I'm still inflicting it on my younger kids.
Oh, good, yeah.
My older ones have all flown the nest. But my younger ones, so Bruce has got a new record out that came out last week, a new album. And I've been playing that loads. So now George, who's 9, he knows it, and there's a couple of tracks he really likes.
Yeah.
Oh, fab.
So I've sort of forced that onto them, but they have far more access to it themselves now, and access to anything.
Yeah.
It is interesting how the whole way that you receive music has changed.
Yeah.
and
instant access to whatever they want, basically.
Yeah.
Because I remember when I was a kid, there was a particular CD or tape it was in the car. It was Colm Wilkinson singing songs from the West End and Broadway.
Yeah.
But with the LPO accompanying him.
Yeah.
So we just had that on all the time, every holiday. And we had the Les Mis CD, often the French version of the Les Mis.
Oh,
Really?
God, you were classy.
Yeah, it was like the original concept album of Les Mis. I don't know why we had that, but you get so used to that particular record. And even actually, we had another Les Mis, so we had the record of Les Mis, and there was a scratch on it, so it would get stuck it would go back. It'd be a bit where, if you're a Les Mis fan, Fontaine is like gone down the docks, and she's getting her hair cut off.
Oh yeah,
and it goes, let her have my dearie, let her have my dearie, let her have my dearie. It was just that bit round and round again. So, and then when I finally played it in the West End, hearing that bit, and it carried on. It just went on to the next line.
Did you get stuck in a loop?
I just kept playing the same
bit.
But it's funny, like, because when you're a kid, when we were growing up, it was before streaming and everything, so you just had what you had at home. So you're saying you had like half a dozen albums that were on sort of rotation.
And the thing I did when I was a boy was you had cassettes and you could tape songs off the radio.
Yes.
So the charts would be on a Sunday tea time.
Yes.
And it would be in FM. So that was your best opportunity to get a high quality recording, but you want to avoid the idiot DJ. So you'd want to come in. He'd say, and this week coming in number Thursday, the Basie Rollers, and you think, he's going to shut up. And then you take your finger off pause, because you'd have play and record, pause. And then you'd want to have as much of the song as possible, but you'd want to stop before he came back in again with his nonsense. You'd be thinking, oh, how much longer? And it would start to fade. You think, can I hang on a bit longer?
It was so exciting. Yes, I remember it was Mark Goodyear was doing the top 40.
Yes,
You're younger than me,
that's
Seb.
right.
Younger than me. It was Marconi did mine.
Oh, right. But yeah, and
You got it. He didn't know.
I know how obsessed
I don't know who that is.
He invented radio.
Oh, right, sorry. Alexander Graham Bell.
You like Mark Goodyear, I like Marconi.
You went to do drama at the Welsh College.
Uh-huh.
What was it you wanted to be an actor, right?
An actor, or I suppose an entertainer. It wasn't a sort of pure thing of acting. It was more a thing of entertaining, because I think that was what I did as a kid. One way or another, either like making my friends laugh. And my reason for going to drama school was that at school I did all the school musicals and I loved them. So my life was acting at school. We'd have drama lessons maybe once a week. I can't remember now. But rehearsals, from my memory, were every day, every evening after school.
Yeah.
And that was my life. The show would be performed there in Porthcawl at the Grand Pavilion in February over 3 nights, I think, when I did it. Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And then on the Sunday, you would be utterly bereft because it had been your whole year building up to this thing and such close relationships with the other actors. So my thought of going to drama school was that it would be my favourite thing at school, but all day. That was very much part of the thought process. And at that point, I had a very naive optimism and self-belief that I would become a very successful actor, which was to be sorely tested as time passed. But so that I didn't think much beyond going to drama school. So I auditioned for RADA, Central and Welsh College, and I was turned down by RADA and Central, but accepted by Welsh College. And really loved my time there. Really enjoyed it. I think they did teach us some theory, but I don't think I ever paid any attention to it. All I wanted to do was perform things, Yeah. So there were classes. In fact, I interviewed Michael Sheen for my YouTube channel, and he said he got talking about the pandemic, and he said, well, it's like, back in Shakespeare's day, because of course, when we were at drama school, you were taught about this, that, and that plague, and I thought, were you? I can remember not going to those lessons, sort of thinking, that's like school. Why would I want to do that?
Did you get show dance and things like that? I remember from Guildhall that I used to love going and watching my friends doing their show dance lessons.
Yeah, we had to. Yeah, there was movement stuff. There was. It was not long after Fame had been on the television, so it was the age of the leg warmer. So I would be there. I've got photos of me in sweatpants and a leg warmer and a T-shirt with cut-off sleeves, Probably because I thought that was a bit like Bruce, although I don't think he ever went for the full leg warmer thing. And we did dancing stuff. I remember that. And I remember being too young, too naive because I had no interest in it, but nor did I have the maturity to realise that this would be a good skill. And I've had to do a handful of dance things in my career, just a handful. And I found all of them very challenging. When I did a chorus of disapproval in the West End, there was a little dance routine in that. It took me a long time to get it. And I once did a live at the Palladium that I hosted, and we had the cast of Jersey Boys on. And I had to do, the joke was that I'd become one of them and we do Walk Like a Man,
Yeah.
And of course, they've been doing this 8 times a week for 2 or 3 years, so they can do it in their sleep. And if you looked at it, it's on YouTube if you want to torment me. If you look at it, you'd say, well, it's not a challenging dance. And yet, because we also had to sing, and not necessarily the melody line. You may not be going, walk like a man. You may be going, walk like a man, talk like a man. You may be doing something like that, which goes against all your instincts of having sung along. And you're having to point. Ooh, walk like a man. Oh, how she tried. But I did enjoy it. But so we had it at school. But as I say, I didn't have the sort of maturity to think, well, this would be, let's try. I don't suppose you can have that until you're older and you realise that this is a great opportunity to be learning things. But we had those lessons, and we had speech, and we had movement. The history of theatre stuff, there was something like that going on, and I took, as I say, no interest in it.
No, it's a bit of constant regret of ours that comes up in this show that we didn't apply ourselves more at music college. Well, while we were there, while we were paying all that money. So go to every single class we could have done.
I know. I think that just comes with maturity. It's like when my kids, the ones that are still at school now, you want to say to them, oh, just drink, soak it all in. But,
no,
you can't.
Have you got any standout performances for that year, though, where you felt like...
Well, yes, I can remember a few, but all the main performances were in the third year, and I left midway through the second year because I got spotted by BBC Wales and given a job as a radio presenter, so I left. Yeah. But we had done some performances. There's a song, I don't know what it's from, called Racing with the Clock. Do you know that one? When you're racing with the clock, there's a dun-dun-dun, and the second hand doesn't understand that dun-dun-dun. And we had to do a dance routine to that I found very difficult. And it was, and so many of the students had no interest in dance. So it wasn't taken seriously. I really felt for the dance teachers. I dare say it was the same every year. Because we're a right old motley crew of kids. I would at least try and be polite and give it a go. But you'd get some who just take the mickey out of it and wouldn't commit to it at all, So we would do that. And in terms of performances, we did put on a performance of the Joe Orton play, the Erpingham Camp, I think it's called. And I played the comic lead guy in that. Because I think I was thought of as the funny one, the one who did funny stuff, So I had that role. And I suppose I wonder, what would have happened if I had stayed at college and hadn't started off in radio. Yeah. Because for a long time that was very frustrating when I wanted to move on from radio to acting and couldn't get seen by people because they thought, well, you're Alan Partridge essentially. You're a DJ, which I was. I was very much Traffic and Travel coming up. Here's Christopher, the lady in red.
Was your first show, is it called Rave? Is that right?
That was one of the first ones, yeah.
What kind of music?
I know it wasn't. I know. But, it's such a funny thing because that's never occurred to me because rave culture so passed me by.
Right.
Never held any interest for me. I'm aware of what a rave thing is. But you saying that now, in all the years that years and years ago, I was the co-host of this show Rave that was on Radio Wales and Radio 5. And it was where I started to do a lot of characters. I did Keith Barrett on there that went into Marion and Jeff for the first time on Rave. But isn't that interesting? I've never... I don't make that connection.
No. I had a vision of neon and like one of those lovely dummy...
Smiley faces.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. No, I was that all that stuff when all that was going on. Just never.
Did you have kids at that point? Oh, no, it's before.
Yeah, no, it was around. Before. It was. My first was born in '94. I was still doing a bit of radio. I'm not sure if I was. I think I'd finished that when Katie came along. I think so.
Yeah.
But,
your first performances were in musicals at school, right?
Yeah.
And you had a really great drama teacher.
Oh, yeah. Brilliant. Roger Burnell.
Yeah.
And he's now just had his 70th.
Yeah.
We were going to have a huge party and then lockdown happened, you see. But he now runs a thing in Wales called It's My Shout, which gives young filmmakers, so many of them, this incredible opportunity to make films and get them shown on the television or in the cinema on a big screen.
Oh, brilliant.
We were so lucky. So Ruth Jones was at school with me, and so she and I both went through Roger, and he was hugely important. He was that classic inspiring teacher who gave you confidence and self-belief and just a sense of professionalism about the job. So I'm always hugely grateful to him.
He must have just seen something in you and just let you, just encouraged you, but like specific to sing and be funny on stage.
I suppose so. I mean,
it's amazing that you and Ruth both came out with the same stuff.
I sometimes tell people I was at school with her, and they say, "Well, what did you teach her?" She's a little hurtful. I think she's a couple of years younger than me, but was a big part of the drama crowd, which was my crowd. So, I taught her to drive when she was learning to drive. Right. I took her to the car park by the beach in Porthcawl. I'd already passed my test.
Yeah.
Great.
So, in terms of like what the music, you're doing more music these days with the band.
Finally.
But it's always felt like that's the kind of thing you want to get to in your career.
Yeah, but I will admit to being very nervous of it, probably only for how it's perceived, and perhaps you shouldn't be. Why should you care how it's perceived? But I do think, and I have a lot of my friends do this, but when a figure that is primarily known as the bloke on the telly suddenly then wants you to come and pay good money to buy his album, or you think, hang on a minute, wait a minute, what are you meant to be, all things to all men sort of thing. Although, of course, as I said, that is how I started out. The first thing was musicals, and I've always loved it. And I've had different comedy acts over the years that I've sung in. I've sung in Gavin and Stacey. I've sung on I'm Sorry I Haven't a Clue.
Yeah.
I've done different things, like I'm on Bryn Terraville's album. I've been on Harry Shearer's album. I've sung at the Festival Hall in a big Tim Rice tribute with Andrew Lloyd Webber at the piano. So it's lots of things. But I was so wary of ridicule, I suppose, of, who do you think you are? Because I've got friends who've done it and are good singers, but you can get a bit of a kicking for it, and I don't want that, which is why I've never released an album, because I've been offered albums. I think if you have any sort of profile, a record company will think we could make some money here. So, and which is why I've done what I've done with you, Seb, which is the tour, so, proper getting out there and doing it, not just sticking a record out. And I started it really slowly. It came about because I was at Joe Stilgo. I've sung with Joe quite a few times, hugely talented man. And I was at one of his Christmas things, and a producer was there who I knew a bit anyway, came up and said, look, have you ever thought of doing a cabaret? And I had. Cabaret to some people is a dirty word. It's not to me. I think if it's done well, it's this wonderful grown-up entertainment. Yeah. So I would describe it. And I thought, So he then started to pester me, with this idea. Why don't we do something? So I thought, okay, let's try this thing. But I said, look, it's going to take forever. I'm very slow. I'm not going to rush it. And he said, yeah, okay. I think he came to regret that after all. I said, well, I did tell you. I told you to be slow. So I auditioned. They set up auditions for 6 musical directors. And all of them, I mean, good Lord, all super talented. But then it just comes down to who feels like the right fit. Paul Herbert, who, as you know, because he now is in charge of our band. The B Street Band, as I like to call it. That will catch on. So I met Paul, and I said, I think Paul is the one. And then Paul and I think over the course of a year, would get together in a little place in Chiswick, a little room, and just sing together. And he'd suggest songs, and I'd suggest songs. And we would do that, and then the producer would say, okay, look, we got to put some dates in. I go, no. And I say, all in good time. Because I was enjoying just going and singing with Paul. And he was so good for my voice. I could sing a bit before, I'm talking about myself here, but it's so much stronger and flexible. The higher, lighter, is it a head voice, do you call it?
Yeah.
Yeah, the head voice. Yeah. There is another word for it that's quite a nice word. I can't remember. Colatura, is that?
Oh, there we are.
Or does that just mean sound? I'm not sure. I don't know about singing.
Well, he didn't know Marconi invented radio.
No, I
so
didn't.
I don't know.
We
I don't
won't
think we should
refer
trust
to
Seb
him.
on anything, yeah. and the exercises that he's had me doing
Yeah.
are so many of them gentle. You know, it's not been lots of rah, but it's more like and vibrations.
Yeah.
And then this light, I can't do it for you now, but a lighter sound. And I've been really thrilled. I mean, and I can't overstate the two things with my voice. There's that, and there's dairy, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Now, that is hazelnut milk that was in that coffee that I've just been drinking. In case you're looking at me going, what are you talking about? I've been a huge milk consumer all my life. And I heard people say, oh, dairy's no good for singers. And I thought, well, I seem to be all right. I seem to get by. While at the same time, and I'm sorry about this listener, being one of those people who often had to go, right? And never putting two and two together. And I remember when we were getting ready for the tour that we started, Seb, earlier this year, and I was working with Paul. People would say to me, have you got a cold? And I go, no, I haven't got a cold. Oh, okay. And I was getting to the notes and everything, but they would say, you just sound a bit congested. I don't think this is how I normally am. And Michael Ball had recommended a guy to me called Fabi. Oh, I can't remember his second name. Something like Weissborn or Wiesborn. I think he's Eastern European. Right. Michael had told me how he grapples with your larynx and everything, right?
Wow.
And Paul Herbert had heard of him. And I thought, I'm going to do it. I'm going to go and see him. Because what was eating me was, I'm not going to be the best I can be. And this is such a shame because I'm working really hard for this, you know. And I'm not going to be as good as I can be. So I went to see him. And you lie down on your back and he basically massages your jawline, right? And around your larynx.
I'm doing it now.
Yeah.
And he's moving stuff. And then on your face, around the nose, around the sides of the nose, under the cheeks and stuff. He's doing that. Then he did that. And then he did some cranial osteopathy on my head. He said, I do cranial, do you want? I said, well, yeah, okay, I'm here, you know. But thinking, well, I don't see. I can see how a relatively forceful massage can have some effect, right?
Yeah.
I go, well, I get that. And I'm quite open to all sorts of alternative therapies. But a cranial massage, I don't. So then he starts doing stuff, and it's so subtle and so nothingy, right? I'm thinking, oh, this is a waste of time. But then next thing I know, I'm miles away. I've just drifted away. So something is happening, right? And he said to me about the dairy. He said, look, just cut it out for 24 hours. Just see what happens. I did. Wow. It was like, the feeling you have when you've had a cold and the cold goes away and you suddenly feel all dry inside. It was that. And since then, certainly whenever I'm performing, I mean, I've had far less milk now. Occasionally I might have some. And I can now monitor it. So anybody who's listening to this and is a singer, you have to try cutting out dairy.
I feel like I'm getting more and more congested.
I'm going to try it now.
And I can feel it all. It's all like building up. It's going to be lovely sounds.
Well, it's a funny thing because I think that sometimes with things like this, I think also it affects different people differently. Because my wife has dairy and she doesn't get all right. So maybe it just reacts differently in different people. But if you are one of those people, I can't recommend enough.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a very funny scene in The Trip where you show off your 3-octave range.
Oh, yeah.
It's not really 3 octaves. I'm cheating.
Has it improved at all over the years or since working with Paul?
I think it's probably, it's 5 octaves.
Yeah.
In the Trip. See, that's a funny thing. I was remembering the other day that when I first got to know Steve, it was 2000. Well, in the summer of 2000, we shot Human Remains, which his company made. And we did it in Brighton. And we were down at his house. And I was remembering a party that he had in his house. And this was before I knew him well. You know, we weren't big friends then. And he had this lovely big house, with big sound system. And it must have been a rap party or might have been a start of shoot party. And we ended up somebody put Thunderball on, and Steve and I went into a competition singing along with it, trying to get the big note at the end. And I only remembered this the other day in the kitchen there. And I thought, oh my God. And that's 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, oh my God. And then we ended up in the trip doing stuff. Yeah. I remember we also had a battle in his swimming pool that night. We were on rival lilos. I'm trying this now, trying to get the other one off. I mean, bizarre behaviour. It was so bizarre. But yeah, and we sang along to that. The bit in the trip where we'd sing in is
it's the winner takes
winter
it all.
takes it all, and we're doing the octaves. Yeah. No, because if you listen to it, I go down a bit and then up, don't I? It's not really
it's not.
that. But no, I would say that now that my voice is thanks to Paul and Fabi, it's in a much better place. And we shot that thing the other day, that promo film. Yeah. So for that, I had about a week and a half of doing my exercises again, because you sort of fall out of the pattern of doing them. But just doing those exercises, Paul's given me a few tapes of things.
Yeah.
And
with the show, do you keep with the same sort of structure every night, or are you sort of flexible around?
No, it's the same. It's the same structure. I mean, you give yourself a nervous breakdown if it was properly different every night. Well, I mean, what would you say? It's the same structure.
Oh yeah,
isn't it?
Yeah. But there are moments within it.
Well, within it, it changes. But no. I mean, God, and I think especially with a band, they've got to know what we're doing. But we have some of my favourite bits. So when there's a bit in the second half where we say, right, try. They got this from Bruce Springsteen, because there's a bit where he used to go, hey, I want you to stump the E Street Band. And people would come holding up signs with songs, and he would try and do it on the stage. So we've done that. And then doing Bohemian Rhapsody, haven't we? Right. And Nessun Dorma. Yeah. Somebody shouted out one night Nirvana, and straight away Lewis on guitar, Lewis Turner. Do you remember? He went straight into that riff from Smells Like Teen Spirit.
Yeah.
But with the effect on it. He went, and I was stood there. What the hell? I mean, it was like a nanosecond, wasn't it?
I think guitarists are always ready to play that. It's just ready there, isn't it?
Is that right?
It's their audition
piece. They've got a special Nirvana pedal.
Now's my moment.
And then one night someone said, did they say Goldfinger? Is that what happened?
Yeah, someone shouted
Goldfinger, right? So we start to work it up. So I start going, Goldfinger. And out of nowhere, Seb does the full proper...
Yes.
And it sounded so good.
That was the same for me. It was like, as the Nirvana thing, it's like, I know what happens here. Reach down, grab my plunger mute.
Yeah, you can look up at Lewis and go, you can sit this one.
Yeah, back off.
There's no guitar in this bit.
Did you plant that person in the audience?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, they travel with us.
Yeah.
I always laugh now when people talk about plants. I was thinking, what do you think we do? You think we have a team of actors who are on a wage, who we are travelling and feeding for that one moment? Could you please sing?
Yeah, exactly.
I always find actually doing the show, because a lot of it is just we're waiting for the next song, but we're watching you and often just laughing along because it's so funny. But there are the moments I really love are where it's almost like it's like jazz almost, like you've got your structure and you know the jokes you're going to do, but within that it's so elastic, and you're reacting to some crowd work, or sometimes you'll just be like, skip to the next bit. It's not working, or whatever. And I love that. I just love the malleability of it.
Well, I think that comes with, I suppose, for the same as a musician and with comedy, it just comes with experience and years of doing it. And I think that a lot of stuff that an audience might think was off the hoof is it might be off the hoof, but it's a bit. I always think of it as like a magician who can force you to choose a certain card.
Yeah.
So I can ask an audience questions that seem random, but I know that the answer is probably going to then take me to where I want to go. And over the course of this show, you were saying earlier about we played Swansea and it was half an hour longer. One of the great shames when we had to stop because of the lockdown was that it was starting to get really tight. It was getting to be a really nice show.
Yeah.
And that's when we pick it up again, we'll get back to that pretty quickly. But I was starting to have confidence because it took a while. You know, as I said, I was very wary of doing it. But when I saw how the audiences reacted, and we had such a lovely reaction, I thought, oh, great, you know. Which is why I'm always so nervous of doing it on the TV or anything. I mean, once they're in the theatre, that's fine. And, you know, we shot this promo and they wanted to show bits of it on the one show. And I agonized over that promo because I said, just me stood there singing. So it's such a, what's this idiot doing now, you know? Whereas once they're in the theatre and they're there for the evening, I don't mind then because that's the show. But taken out of context, you know.
I think in the theatre you're in control of it, aren't you?
Yes, and you set the tone for the whole night. And it may well be that at the beginning of the show they are sitting there going, well, what's this going to be? I thought he's just the funny guy who does this. So, you know, what is that band? And what's this going to be, you know? And then as the show goes on, you can see them. Oh, right, okay. Oh, it's still what we know, but a little bit more. And it's just, because there's always been music in my stand-up shows, you know. Yeah. I used to have a guitarist that came round with me on 2 tours ago. And on the last tour, I would play the guitar. And again, you get better as the tour goes on. It's such a practice. I mean, it's with anything, isn't it? Yeah. But I was so much better at the end of the last tour. So I ended up on that tour playing the guitar at the Sydney Opera House and places, you know.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I know. And, but yeah, you know, you say the jazz thing, and it is nice with you in the band knowing that the more we play together, the more we get to know each other and the more we know where we can go.
Yeah.
You've got fantastic people like Giacomo, who's such an incredible jazz musician. Giacomo Smith on clarinet and saxophone. He's
terrific. When I put the band together, I think I'm right in saying the only ones that I asked for I'd worked with Giacomo before and I'd worked with Gabby before. So I wanted them. And I thought, but I bet I won't get them. They won't be available. I was so pleased. And it was great having those familiar faces.
Yes, absolutely.
And then the rest were Paul knew. All the rest of you?
I don't actually know how I got involved.
How the hell did you get the job? I've asked this so many times.
I actually worked for the Daily Mail. So. Now I've got you.
You thought it was Anton Dubek's
You thought it was Anton's tour, which would be a dream.
I did. I'd love to do that.
Has the level of dance disappointed
you? There's not as much dancing as I thought.
Not as much as I was expecting.
I don't know. I think someone drops out. I think someone else is meant to do it. No one's really told me the truth, which I quite like.
There was another musician, another one. I won't say who because that would be unfair to them. But there was another position where I had someone in mind, and they couldn't do it. And now, of course, I can't imagine it with anybody other than the person that's doing that part. You know.
Yeah.
Now, some of the song choices, obviously, some of your favourite artists. I mean, you sing their songs, but does it take a bit of confidence to sing something that's very kind of melancholy and there's no laughs involved at all?
No, it's really strange. I'm happier singing the melancholy songs, but there are too many of them, so we've taken some of them out. So for the tour, we had Train in the Distance by Paul Simon. I think you'd call that a melancholy song.
As a train rolls
would you
by.
believe it?
Not too far in the distance. Train in the Distance. We had Broken Bicycles by Tom Waits. Okay, that's a melancholy song. Yeah. We had the bit we do from Under Milk Wood.
Oh yeah,
that's melancholy. We had Always on My Mind. That's melancholy. Yeah. We had Everybody's Talking. You know, the
Smile.
Harry Nilsson song. Yeah. We had Smile, but Smile is used to illustrate a joke, isn't it? So I don't think of it. That's just a setup to a gag. But I'm more confident singing something like that than I am with the faster songs.
Oh, right.
I found it very hard to sing a faster song without feeling like a bit of an idiot. Now, isn't that a strange thing? I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
I think that comes under the who does he think he is category. So fast songs, we do Goody Goody, which I know because I love Tony Bennett.
Yeah.
So you met someone who set you back on your heels. Now, I've been thinking about that song, you see, and I think where I'm going wrong with that song is I need to be a little bit more, would staccato be the word, in my singing.
Yeah.
I shouldn't be...
A bit shorter.
Yeah. So I've been going, because I naturally, when I sing, I tend to pull them out. So I've been going, so you met someone who set you back on your heels. And I think it'd be better, so you met someone who set you back on your heels. I think, and that's what I
maybe.
want to do when we go back. Because thinking about it, when I listen to it, because the band sound great on it. Because when you get to you and Giacomo in the middle at 8, it's all lovely. But those fast songs, I'm looking for a couple more for when we go back out.
Yeah.
We did, because I do stuff from musicals. I talk about being in Guys and Dolls when I was at school. So I do Sit Down, You're Rocking the Boat.
Yeah.
Right.
Which is a way of, that's right at the beginning of the show, saying, look, here we go. I can sing, listen to this, it's big. You're going to go, hopefully they go, yeah, you can sing, and then relax.
Yeah.
And we did do a bit of Luck Be a Lady once, didn't we? We did that.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, but it does become a bit of a Guys and Dolls
I've
fest.
never been in love before.
I've never been in love before.
Quite a slow one.
That's slow again, but it also sets up the joke about, it's from when I was at school.
Yeah.
And I played Skye Masterson, and the girl that played Sarah was this beautiful girl, who I had such a crush on. And I had to, in the rehearsals, I had to sing "I've Never Been in Love Before" to this girl, and it was kind of what I was feeling, in myself. And then she would be coming back, "I've never been in love before either," and I was thinking, "Oh, does she love me?" And of course, she didn't. And it's all very confusing when you're that age.
Yeah.
And we have some jokes. We have some jokes in there.
I was reading about it. You're fond of Sondheim, aren't you?
Oh,
Is
yes.
that- yeah. I wonder if there's something.
We were going to do, but again, they tend to be the more mournful, slow ones. We were looking to do Pretty Women.
Yeah.
And for a while, maybe we will do this eventually. What the hell is going on?
Is it Crossrail?
Yes.
We'll just sit quietly in the garden. It'll be fine. We were going to do Pretty Women. Now, there's a great version that was done in America where I think all the cast played their own instruments or something. Are you aware of this?
Oh, in a pie shop.
Possibly, and was the one Patti LuPone was in? I don't know. Anyway, it's very good. So the bit where he goes over, "You're in a merry mood today, Mr. Todd," and he says, "You're with my desire, one man to the next, pretty women, oh women," and they talk to each other. And I was going to do it. I was going to do that, playing both the parts, and then going into the song, and then we never got round to it. But yes, so Sondheim, yes,
Yeah.
I adore.
You met him, didn't you, last year?
So I did Follies at the National Theatre.
I saw that production. Have we talked about it?
I don't know if... Well,
the one that Janie Dee was in?
Yeah, and Imelda Staunton.
Imelda wasn't in it when I
time?
saw it. I saw it the second time.
Yeah, so there were 2 runs, and at the end of that second run, there was a drinks reception up the top of the National Theatre,
Right.
and Sondheim was there.
No.
It was so great.
Did you speak to him?
Yeah, so basically, I was so nervous to talk to him because it's Stephen Sondheim. A few of us went over, 3 of us from the band. It wasn't me that led it. It was the oboist, Simon. He went up and said, "Mr. Sondheim," and we all shook his hand. And he was just, he's quite a gruff sort of. Oh, no. Well, I can't remember what he said, but it was something just like, "Oh, great, you're in the band, great, cool," like that. And that was it. But back when, I don't think anyone's ever going to shake anyone's hand when you meet someone famous anymore. I think that's gone.
We will eventually.
But that was just, that's one of the most amazing people to meet.
That production was absolutely sublime, I thought. And particularly Janie.
She was so great.
I'd seen her do things, but I didn't. She blew me away. She just blew me away. I thought she was fantastic.
Yeah.
That song, the ballad of Somebody and Somebody, Jesse and Sally.
Lucy and Jessie.
Lucy wants to be Jessie. Jessie wants to be Lucy. Oh, so good. And in any of Sondheim's things, there's just so many layers.
Yeah.
And you can just delight and you listen to it again and again. Yeah, I loved that. I loved that production. I didn't know you were in that.
Yeah, it was a really great production because there were 21 players, including conductor.
Amazing, isn't it?
Which is so rare to have so many people in an orchestra. There was a harp player and quite a full string section, and it was really wonderful. And I remember doing the sits probe for it the first time.
Doing the what?
The sits probe.
What does that mean?
So that's where the cast and the band rehearsed together for the first time. So
the sits probe, of course.
Yeah.
The sits probe. And it was the day before my wedding, and it was so lucky actually because the day of my wedding was the day off in the rehearsal week. So it meant I could do the whole run.
Yeah.
If it had been a day different.
That's the stars aligning, isn't it? That's
really
great.
Was.
Yeah.
And so I was in such a good mood. And then the day before, had this Sitz probe, and Imelda Staunton was there, and Janie D, and Jonathan Tunick, who's Stephen Sondheim's orchestrator, who's done all his shows and really contributes to that sound that he's got. But anyway, it was just one of the greatest working days in my career.
Yeah.
It was a really amazing
second
thing.
only to the Sitz probe for the tour that you've just done.
Oh yeah, that was the best
that
thing.
would be the one.
I think it's like my wedding day.
I'm
glad I said career,
sorry,
not
and
life.
your wedding day was.
I'd love to be in a Sondheim, but my thing has been because I had children again. It's being in the theatre is so takes over your life.
Yeah.
You're out every night, and it just seems so unfair on my wife to be here all the time. I mean, when they're older, and if I can still stand, then I would like to do some. That was one of the reasons why I'm doing the tour with you, is because I wanted to do these songs. But at least with this, I can decide. I can say we'll do 3 in a row, and then we'll have 2 nights off.
Yeah.
And we'll do 2 in a row. We'll have 3 nights off. And you can plan it as you want it.
Is there one musical in particular you'd be keen to do?
Well, I do love Sweeney Todd.
Oh yes.
I would love to play Sweeney in Sweeney Todd.
Yeah.
Am I too old for that? I don't know. I don't think you forget how old you are, and there's a lot of things you'll say when you go, "Oh yeah, no, I'm probably a bit old for that now."
Oliver and Oliver Twist.
That's pretty good. What about the Artful Dodger? He's a bit older.
Matilda.
Maybe Sweeney Todd. But I'd also like to do a good old Rodgers and Hammerstein.
Yes.
I don't know them well enough to know all the parts, but I just love that whole feel. I would like to do that. I really would.
Yeah.
So maybe sort of 10 years time, but when the kids have all left.
Oh yeah. Oh, in 10 years. Yeah, in 10 years from now, maybe less than that. Maybe it's more once they're teenagers and they're sort of doing their own thing anyway.
Exactly.
Yes, actually. So it doesn't need to be that far ahead.
No.
Actually, do you know what? Probably in 5 years' time.
Yeah. Would you find anything terrifying these days, or scary when you're? What's the most scared you get in all the different sort of things you do as a performer?
Well, some of the things I don't get scared at all. So I was saying this to someone the other day, that we've just done another series of Would I Lie to You with a tiny audience and everything. Yeah. And I don't get at all nervous doing that show. No. Not in the slightest. And I sometimes think to myself, God, look at this. I'm in the wings here in the TV studio, about to go on to host this show. And no, it's just another day at the office, which is
that's amazing.
Quite
Yeah,
something.
it is.
I would have been nervous with that once.
Why is it with that one? Is it because there's a strict format?
We've done it so many times.
So much,
so many times. There's a formula.
Yeah.
I know I can do it. It's a bit like we said earlier about playing the guitar on stage, and I said you've got to be a couple of grades better than you need to be able to do it on the stage. Do you know?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
So it's similar here. So that's hosting that show is well within my wheelhouse.
Yeah.
I sit in the same place for the whole show. There's no moves. Do you know what I mean? It's easy. So if you with the experience you have and whatever talent you have or knack you have to be able to do it, then it's an easy, enjoyable show. But I would get nervous with the singing stuff. With our tour, I was nervous at the beginning of again how I would be perceived, because I don't want people going. I don't know how to explain it. I like singing, and I think I can sing. If there's no time for false modesty, I think I can sing, and so it's important that it's good. And as I say, I've seen the reception some of my contemporaries have, who are really good, and I don't want that, so that's why I handle it so carefully. But I get nervous. I'd be nervous. There are things things when there are variables that are outside your control, I suppose.
Is it nerve-wracking going into other panel shows? So something like Have I Got News for You, for example?
I don't see... That's a bit of a misconception about me. I've not done anything else for a long time. I've not done QI for about 7, 8, 9 years.
Right.
I think I stopped doing that because I felt I'd done all my shtick. You know,
right.
I didn't have anything else to add to it.
Yeah.
I've only ever done... I hosted Have I Got News for You once. I didn't particularly enjoy the experience. So I've never done that. I've never been on as a panellist.
Yeah.
I'm about to do the big fat quiz of the year, which I did for a few years in a row, and I stopped doing them, and I'm doing it again this year. Frankly, work.
Yeah,
it's money. You know, I'm not ashamed to say that.
No.
You know? And it'll be fun. It's all my chums that do it, but that's why I'm doing it. But other than that, I wouldn't be nervous about that. I'll be thinking, I hope I come out with a few funny things.
Yeah.
I hope I make a good showing of myself.
Yeah.
Because on that sort of show, it can just be how you are in the moment, and maybe you're just not firing on all cylinders. There are things I'm sitting here trying to think, because there are definitely things where I get nervous.
Like acting in the West End, like with Kenneth Branagh.
Yeah, not once it's up and running.
No.
When it's done properly. So for that play I did with Kenneth Branagh, the rehearsal process is so thorough. See, in my career, for a long time, I was often a seat of the pants kind of person. I was often a making it up as you go along kind of person. And then I did the play with Trevor Nunn, Chorus Disapproval, and then I did the play with Ken and Sean Foley. And that was proper, that was done with proper amount of rehearsal. And I had this new experience of I couldn't wait for first night because we'd done it properly. And I wanted then an audience. I wanted their reaction.
Yeah.
When I first started to do live comedy performances once I was well known, so in about 2001, I took the Keith Barrett character and did every Sunday night at the Ambassadors Theatre, the one opposite the Ivy. Just up
by the Mousetrap, sort of.
Not the Mousetrap, just up
next
from there.
Yeah,
Central Line. And I did my character giving this talk on divorce, and I was, oh my God, I was nervous. I was so nervous because I went into it like I used to go into exams at school, totally unprepared. And I had tried out the first half of the show in some comedy clubs, maybe 20 to 30 minutes of it, that's all. But the second half of the show, and I find this hard to believe, I had not performed in front of anybody anywhere. It was a slideshow, and I just planned it. And I hadn't known, Claire's my wife now, and we've been together for 18 years or 19 years. I hadn't known her very long, and we were backstage in my dressing room, and I was almost apoplectic, is that the word, or catatonic? I was paralyzed with fear to go on, because it felt like one of those anxiety dreams that performers have, where they're going on to do a play and they don't know the script.
Yeah.
It was, I ended up going to a stomach specialist after that because I felt so ill.
Wow.
I terrible. But those days are long behind me. That's almost 20 years ago. So nervous for that, yes. Sometimes with these YouTube interviews, because of the technical side of it, and if it's someone that I don't know that well but hope they enjoy it. That's when I did Will Ferrell. Yeah. I've worked with him. I don't know him particularly well. You think, right, I don't want to mess up here, There are more devices now. We've got something happening next door.
I know.
There's something happening in the golf course that's the other side of the road. Is this going to be usable, or is it too bad?
I think it will be, hopefully.
Yeah.
If you've listened this far, thanks for persevering.
Yeah. Listen to that. What's that? What's he doing?
That is amazing, isn't it?
They're communicating.
They are.
And the sun's out. It's become a nice day. I was thinking,
It's lovely.
Everyone's got their lawnmowers out, haven't they?
Well, that's why
Classic.
they're doing it. Yeah. Well, he sounds like he's a stonemason, the one who's
Oh, I've got to say, I was doing some Google, stalking research,
Yes,
what should we say?
yes.
And I found an excellent headline. Can I
Yes,
just say?
go on.
It was, the Mirror headline was, Anton de Beck snubbed by Who Do You Think You Are as he wasn't Rob Brydon. I mean, that's a tragedy for Anton.
It's very funny.
Are you keen to do, or have you done Who Do You Think You Are?
I haven't done it, no.
Would you?
No, I might do it one day.
Yeah. Well, they're obviously keen to have you.
I watched Ruth did it the other day. I watched Ruth's, and David Williams has done it, and Lee Mack's
Yeah.
done it, David Mitchell has done it. I know a ton of people who've done it.
Yeah.
I got mentioned in Ruth's, which was quite nice. She drove past the place I mentioned to you, the Grand
Yeah.
Pavilion. At the beginning, she goes home to Porthcawl and she says, "Oh, that's where I used to do musicals with Rob Brydon."
Yeah.
Ah.
Yeah.
Did you have a standout performance when you were at school? Any musical that you?
Yeah,
loved?
Guys and Dolls was my
That was
favourite.
the one, yeah.
That was my favourite. We did Carousel as well.
Oh,
and then
okay.
in Carousel, you get to, I was Billy, and so I get to sing the soliloquy. And I can remember getting to the end note. Go out and make it, or steal it, or take it. Big breath. Or die. And the audience, right. And of course, at that age, you got no technique, you got no, and I remember, I can still remember, maybe that was at the end of the first half in my mind, maybe it's not, and I'm walking off lightheaded and dizzy from having to hold my breath. I'm wearing my Uncle Colin's zip-up ankle boots with huge heels to make me tall enough to look like a leading man opposite Nicola Ball, who played Julie. And there's a big rake on the stage. So if I face the front, it's like that Smooth Criminal video with Michael Jackson where he leans over. So that particular moment I remember very strongly. But in terms of the show I enjoyed the most, I would say Guys and Dolls, because it's just a stunning show.
Yes.
And I got to sing Luck Be a Lady and My Time of Day is the Dark Time. That's one of my favourite songs from that. And I've never been in love before. Very similar, isn't it? In Guys and Dolls, they sing that to each other. And then in Carousel, if I loved you.
Yeah.
So you could have another musical where I might be in love and it might be you. That's obviously the formula.
That's right.
At the beginning.
There's the one in Showboat. Is that Rogers and Hart?
Yeah.
Is it only make believe? It's like let's make believe that I love you.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Just had to be a bit more. What do you call it? You couldn't be so direct back then. Could
Yeah.
You? That's the sort
but they're stunning songs, aren't they?
Yeah,
and the
they
way
are.
that they're constructed, I mean, they're just lovely, just lovely. And as I say, learning to sing them again with Paul, and
Yes.
what he's done with my voice. When we sing in the show, we do Always on My Mind. So I was very wary of singing. It's such a kind of pub singer kind of song, but what happened was, I think somebody, so going back, so Paul and I rehearsed, that's right, we went off at a tangent, rehearsed for about a year. And then our producer said, look, we were always going to play at Crazy Cock's in Piccadilly, right?
Yeah.
Lovely little room, which I'd seen a few people in and loved. It only seats about 80 people. It's not financially viable. But we went there. He booked a week just before last Christmas. And in we went, and there I would ask somebody, give us a request. It was just me and Paul. And someone said, Always on My Mind. And we sang it, it went down really well. And that's where I noticed the thing with the voice, the lightness that Paul has given me, where you'd go, maybe I didn't treat you. Whereas before you might have gone, maybe I did, and you, right? Does that make sense to you?
Yeah.
Whereas now you go, maybe I didn't treat you.
Yeah. It's like a light. It's a lighter.
Paul describes it's like
halfway.
midway between your singing and your speaking.
Yes.
Yeah.
And he has an exercise that I do, which is the sound where, like wet but without the T. Where. And it's all to do with the folds at the back. This is what he says.
Yeah.
Who am I to doubt him? The folds at the back of the throat. Where. And you just do that at different pitches. And I can really feel the benefit of that then in a song like Little Things I Should Have Said and Done.
Yeah.
I just never took the time. You could just do it very lightly and not force it. And also use the microphone as well.
Yeah.
You not feel that you have to. And now I look back on some other performances and I think, I wish I'd known that then. I would have I was relying in the past just on brute force.
Yeah.
And now I've
Charisma.
learned a little bit of subtlety.
Yeah, that's right. Well, you're always learning, aren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
These things, but
Yeah.
it's just great to learn new little skills and then colours.
Well, it's
you can
great.
Yeah.
Do you know what? It's great being around people who are so good at what they do. Whether it's you guys in the band, I mean, I love that, and I have to say that you see it in the audience. They
Yeah.
go, oh wow, well, all right. Because you imagine you come to see me, it's probably going to be 3 old guys.
The caterers from Harry
You've
Hill.
got this amazing, amazing band, and the sound is so good. One of my favourite bits in the show is where we introduce the band, and we based it around. I had this idea, which sounds unlikely, basing it around "Everybody Wants to Be a Cat" from the Aristocats. Do you remember that song?
Yes.
But it works.
Yeah.
And
That's
I
great.
introduced so I say, here's the band, and I got some jokes, and da-da-da-da, and with Dave Pack does a drum solo first, while the band are basically dum, 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 and he goes on Dave Pack, and, and we do drum, and then we have Lewis on the guitar, and then we go into "Everybody Wants to Be a Cat because a cat's the only cat," and it's just lovely. It's that's a real joy.
Yeah.
Doing something like that. That's a bit. Again, am I going to do it to "Everybody Wants to Be a Cat"? That's a bit of that's a bold choice. And you go, no, let's do that. I haven't seen anybody else do that,
Yeah.
so let's do that. You know,
that sort of thing to do in a show is that sort of harking back to like kind of did Elvis do that or that kind of
what, introducing the band?
everyone
Yeah,
and-
well,
Yeah.
Well, Elvis, all the people I love. Well, no, actually, I don't think. Elvis certainly did, and Bruce.
Yeah.
Bruce would do often. Say in the late 70s, he has a song called Rosalita. It's very long. Do you know Rosalita? Jump a little
I don't.
lighter. Anyway, and it's going da 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 da, and then he introduces the band. But they don't do solos. So he goes on the guitar, Miami Steve Van Zandt, the mighty Max Weinberg. And Elvis used to do a thing where he'd be sort of 3/4 of the way through the show, and he'd go, thank you very much at the end of a song, and then the band would go. Doom, 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 doom. Before we go any further, I'd like to introduce you to the members of my group. And he goes, first of all, the guys that do my background singing, their name is Voice. Because he had such a band, right? So you have a 4-piece there. And you go, and the other singers is J.D. Sumner and the Stamps Quartet, right? So you got those singers. And then you got these sweet inspirations. That's about 4 girls there singing. So, I mean, that's just all the voices. in the background.
Yeah.
And then he would talk you through the rhythm section. So we go on lead guitar, James Burton, and he would often then go, and they do a bit. On bass, Jerry Schiff, and he go, play something, Jerry. And he go, on drums, I think he's from Dallas, Texas, Ronnie Tutt, and he goes, on the piano, Glenn Hardin. So I suppose, I mean, I have to. I got to introduce the band at some point, but I suppose that would be an influence on it. Yeah, having for years and years and years listened to Elvis do that in various guises. And if you follow Elvis's career, towards the end, say 76, 77, he'd let those guys play much longer in those introductions, which only says to me he was getting bored, and he was happy just to let someone else do it. And there's some clips from about 76 or 77. He goes, on a bass guitar, Jerry said, what are you going to play, Jerry? And he goes, I'm going to play some blues. Blues. And he plays this blues bass thing that goes on for about 2 minutes. Where he's going, and Elvis, he just stood there watching. And he's thinking, I don't know, they can do the show. I don't mind. Take over.
Is that your favourite era of Elvis, or was it slightly earlier?
I like everything, but I am very fond of the 70s when he was back live. There's a thing about to come out any day now in November. They take all Elvis's stuff and they repackage it and what have you, and you can have different views on that, but what they've done a lot of recently is just take away all the overdubs and the extra strings and things and give you the feeling of him in the studio. So he did a long session in Nashville in 1970, just before he went and filmed what would become That's the Way It Is, the concert film. where he did I Just Can't Help Believing, amongst other songs. And he recorded loads, and they've been putting them out slowly to promote this record that's coming out in full in November. And it's just him in the rhythm section, without the strings, without the voices, and it's lovely.
Oh.
He does a lovely version of that Willie Nelson song, Funny How Time Slips Away. Do you know that song?
No, I don't know.
Do you know that? Well, hello there. It's been a long, long time. You know that one?
No.
How am I doing? You must know this. He goes, it's been so long now, and it seems like it was only yesterday. Ain't it funny how time... You know that one?
No.
Well, him and the band,
nice.
and his voice is beautiful. It's like chocolate.
Yeah.
And when it came out, it had a lot of strings on it and some voices behind him. He loved being part of a vocal group.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I like that period.
He was probably eating a lot of dairy at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know what's wrong with my voice, man. Give me some more milk. I go, what is my voice?
But Tom Jones toured with him, didn't he?
No, he never toured with him.
Oh,
No,
he didn't tour
He
with
knew
him.
him.
Right.
But no, they didn't tour. No, Elvis
No.
never. Elvis never sang on stage with anybody else.
Oh, wow.
Really?
There is a photograph of Elvis and Tom on the same stage
Yeah.
once, but they didn't sing together.
Right.
I think Tom got Elvis up or Elvis got Tom up. I forget the way around. Somebody took some snaps in the audience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, he never did. But of course, Tom, if you spend any time with Tom, you know, he knows everybody basically.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody from Sammy Davis, Sinatra, Elvis, or the Beatles, the Stones. I mean, everybody.
Everyone, yeah.
Because
Yeah.
Tom can sing anything, you know. I mean,
Yeah.
And he had a show.
this
69
show.
something.
Anybody wanting to know more about Tom Jones, go on YouTube and look up This Is Tom Jones.
Yeah.
There's a great clip of him with Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young singing Long Time Coming. And look
wow.
at David Crosby's face, gazing adoringly at Tom, which is what I tend to end up doing whenever I've done stuff with him. 'Cause I say this in the show.
Yeah,
that
yeah.
On this, we did a charity show together, and we sang "Smile Though Your Heart Is Aching," and I do the first verse, he does the second, and I didn't know what. And we sat on stools at Wembley Arena, and I thought, well, what do I do once I finish singing? Where do I look? And I say, don't make the mistake I made. Don't just gaze adoringly at Tom. But it's very hard not to, because he's this charismatic guy who is a world-famous guy. He's also a very nice guy, you know, very generous. And so I finish my bit, I'm just looking like this. And I've done that a few times. I've been on a few shows with him over the years, and it's kind of embarrassing. You know? Oh, God.
There's a clip on YouTube of you doing the from the Jungle Book.
That was the same show. Yeah.
Oh, that was right.
Yeah. That was the end of that show. We sang.
Great.
We sang. Look,
Bare
me and Tom
Necessities
singing
and-
Bare Necessities.
Oh, wow. That's great.
Sorry, singing. And then I Want to Be Like You. I mean, me singing to him, I Want to Be Like You. The irony was not lost on me.
But you weren't tempted to throw underwear at him.
No, I managed to resist.
Well
that.
done.
But he was going. He's going. Well, I'm the king of the swingers. The jungle. Now, there's a guy I've become very interested in. Is Louis Prima. Now, what do you know about Louis Prima?
Well, I've seen a clip that I think you've shown me of him of like the four of them walking around the studio.
No,
while
that was Giacomo showed us that.
Oh, Giacomo showed
and
us
it was
that.
Giacomo that turned me on to that.
Yes.
Because, you know, Louis Prima did I Want to Be Like You.
Yeah.
But he also, of course, did stuff like Buonasera, Senorita,
Yeah.
Buonasera. And there's a few songs, there's such feel-good songs. And that's on my list of things to do because you saw, as you came in the house, I got that jukebox, which is from
Amazing.
1957. And I want to get a Louis Prima single to put on it because I think it would sound great.
Oh, yeah.
Coming out of that.
Brilliant. Hey, look, we've got to let you go.
Yeah,
Thank you
so
much.
much.
I'm not going to let you go. I'm very lonely and I want to talk more.
Would you believe that everything's just stopped?
Hey, let's
All
listen.
the noises.
Let the listener enjoy this. The odd crow, the sound of a chud. There's a school not far away. And yet, look at it, stopped.
Oh, thanks, Rob.
Oh, thank you. God, wasn't that such a treat?
Yeah.
He's such a lovely man.
Yeah, so generous and so thoughtful.
Yep.
And Like he really kind of really thought about the questions we were asking. And the sort of conversation, and went down some really interesting avenues. And I think obviously he's known for being mainly as an actor and a comedian, maybe lesser known as a musician or a singer, but you can see how important music is to him.
Absolutely. And you can tell how proud he is of the tour. Like he just exudes happiness when he talks about it. It's a wonderful thing. I definitely want to come and see it when you guys are back on the road next year.
Oh, yeah. So the tour is going ahead in the spring and tickets are on sale. So there are links to that in the show notes.
That's right, yeah.
But honestly, it was one of the most enjoyable bits of work I've ever done.
Oh.
Just being part of a really great band, and just watching Rob at work is just so inspiring.
Yeah.
Because he's such a master at talking to the crowd and then you know, going into a funny anecdote or then quite a melancholy song that it all really works as a show.
And it's great that he's so passionate about really improving his voice and singing and it like gaining this confidence to sort of take it to, so it feels like he's really getting something out of it as well.
Yeah. What I think is really interesting is like for him is that there aren't many people doing what he does in this country. And I can't really think of an American equivalent either. Or there are some people that have released albums, they do musicals, but also do like the panel shows and they do acting and that. But I think for him, like, you've always got to be thinking of new things and things that are fulfilling to you, but are the right thing for you to be doing. Yeah. And obviously he takes a lot of time over deciding to do something. Yeah. But you've got to get it right, haven't you? Because it's your kind of whole look and your whole brand.
It's quite terrifying, isn't it? It must be really scary. And that was interesting saying that this is something that he does get nervous about, where he's so used to like panel shows and stand up.
Yeah, that's right.
And he kind of knows how to do those things. And this is like new territory. Yeah. And like you're saying, you know, just wanting to preserve your brand in one way, which sounds really naff, but it's kind of what it is, isn't it?
It is, I think. And there's no rule book on this kind of thing, is there? No one tells you how to be a really successful top presenter, top singer, top actor, because you've just got to find those things out for yourself. Yeah. He's just done some really great stuff, and I've always been a big fan of him. And
me too.
It's just great to just sit in his presence and talk to him.
It really was. I was so nervous about going to meet him. I was really worried about saying something awful or just being really embarrassing. And so, but then he just puts you at ease. So actually, my levels of embarrassing conversation were kept to a minimum.
It was great. I was really proud of you, Verity.
Oh, thanks. You too.
Well, look, thanks for listening, everyone. And if you're a new listener, then thank you so much for tuning in. And if you haven't already, please click subscribe and rate and review on iTunes. That's a fantastic thing you can do, which really helps people hear about the show. What else can they do, Verity?
Well, do you know what? We've got a new website. So you can go along there, 3inabar.com, and you can, when you get to that website, which is very exciting, you can go and click on YouTube, and we've got a new YouTube channel too.
Yeah,
it's just so much newness.
There's so many new things. Yeah. It's very exciting. So if you want to share this episode on social media, please do so. We're on Twitter. We're at 3inabar pod. We're also on Instagram at 3inabar pod, and we're on Facebook as well. Just search for 3inabar. Subscribe to us on YouTube.
We're everywhere.
We are everywhere. You're going to find us in the darkest alleys. Have you subscribed yet?
Lurking in bushes.
We'll be walking along the seafront. We've hired seagulls to come. They're working for us.
Yeah, we have.
And pigeons. They're going to be our little birds going around. Just check in that you've subscribed.
Like and subscribe. That's horrible. Take that out.
Or if you're not on social media, which we do recommend also, maybe tell your friends in person when you next see them in December.
Yeah.
So there you go. Hey guys, I think we turned a corner last night. Some good news happened.
Yes. 2020 is not as crap as it looked like it was, is it?
No, it's all looking up, isn't it?
It's amazing. I felt really, really positive, and it was like the best news since 2016, I'd say.
Yeah.
And that's not even just because of our orange friend. Everything's been a bit rubbish since then, and now there's something good.
Yeah, they're really good. And so lots of love to all our friends in America.
Yeah.
And
well done.
And just like it must be great. I've seen so many videos of people dancing in the street, and it must just be the best feeling ever. So
yeah. On the flip side, however, brilliant. I have lost my husband to videos of Pastor Paula White. If you haven't seen her yet, this is Trump's spiritual advisor. If you haven't had a chance to check her out, have a look. She's really quite something.
I will check out that as soon as we're finished doing this. Thanks so much, everybody. And we'll be back next week, as we are every Monday, with a new episode. And have a absolutely fabulous week. And we'll see you next time. Cheers then. Bye.
Bye.